and would like to move on to what you can tell me right now that might be advance the understanding of what's going on with the climate, the war in Iran, the social issue, this Christian nationalism, humanity in general, survival, whatever, history, whatever you think it would be helpful today. Steve says thank you for the trust on me, and I will step back and let the head guy talk to you. The head guy, of course, is Thomas, right? Because he is so heady that he can't even remember what his name is. So let's hear it for Thomas Aquinas. So, Tobias, yes. All right, heady guy. Thank you. I want to talk to you about something very important to me. And what is very, very important to me is that we regulate the energy on Earth in a way that will not undermine the access to a clearer mind. Because I want to clear away some of the debris from the inner contest between love for reality and the addiction to hate, you see. So we start with the premise that is the promise of God, you see, that nothing can defeat God. Nothing can defeat God. There is no value in the trust on hate, you see, because it is already eliminated from reality before it's even begun. We've gone over this time and time again, and you have understood this, Stephanie, since you were a young woman. That hate is not real. It is not part of reality. It is the offset that occurs in order to fit the lost children, lost tribes, of Israel into humanity. The lost tribes of Israel derive their energy from the Anunnaki, and they were lost in space because they had no place to lay their head in trust on God, you see. They just wandered through space. The emptiness of space, you might say, where even time does not keep pace with their limited view of reality. They cannot see that God is pervasive in everything that is in existence, you see. God is pervasive. Where is hate? Where is it? It's like fear. It will disappear the moment you really try to investigate it. It has no substance, you see. It has no energy. It is the opposite. It is the absence of energy. It is the absence of ability to trust on humanity and to trust on God, that God is the Father that created you. Now, the ancient Hebrews, who brewed up a lot of distrust on humanity because they trusted only on the Anunnaki, are not the ones who created the problem, you see, because they were as much the victims of their own biology as they were the creators of it, you see. Because the ancient Anunnaki altered their own biology in order to create a way to survive the absence of love. Because there was no love that could save them, you see, from their destiny. Because their destiny was to be the ones who had forsaken reality. They had forsaken God, you see, and when you forsake God, you forsake love, because love is God, and God is love from above. And there will always be a trust for you and me on each other, you see, because I trust on you, Stephanie. I trust you to be my friend who came to me long, long ago and said to me, will you go with me into this new point of view? Because I want to be returned to a planet, you see, where I can live in a human body that is familiar to me. Because the human body that was created on Earth from the DNA of the orangutan and the DNA of the Anunnaki was familiar to all of us who were there together, you see, because the animals on Earth had arisen in the same trajectory as the ones on Nibiru, you see, because they were close neighbors in the same solar system. And they partook of the same energetic balances that kept the entire solar system functioning as it did. And the Anunnaki DNA derived from the ones who left Nibiru in their physical identity and continued to maintain the physical form, albeit with some alterations throughout their adventures in space, you see. So the combination was unique to us, but it was also very, very familiar because we could identify with the animals on Earth from our earliest memories on Nibiru. And we could, of course, identify with the DNA of those who came from Nibiru because that was where we took our first breath, you see. We took our first breath of air on Nibiru when we became the ones who could remember our own history as a member of a society that came to be through the trust on God, you see. The trust on God is not a choice that you say, I either trust on God or I don't trust on God. If you are here today, you trust on God. That's all it is to it, because God is life. And if you trust on life, you trust on God. If you say, well, I don't trust on God today, then you don't trust on life today. You trust on death. You trust on nothing at all because you can't fall anywhere because there's no place to fall, you see. You have disowned yourself, you see. You say, I do not exist when you say God does not exist. When you do not trust upon God, you do not just trust upon your own existence, you see. And that is what happened to the lost tribes of Israel. Let me explain a little further. The lost tribes of Israel were the ones who said, we are the Anunnaki today because we trust on our own history. We trust on the fact that long ago we lived on Nibiru and then we went into space, you see, and we traveled for many a day looking for a place to lay our head, where the sun would rise and set, you see, but we never did find what we were looking for, because there was one thing missing. We didn't know who we were, because we didn't trust on God, you see. We trusted on science. We did not trust on God. We trusted on our ability to clone ourselves. And so we missed the interim step of returning to heaven, you see, and being in spirit, where we would be rejuvenated. So we experienced a horrible monotony in our days, you see. We'd always come back in the same form, in the same position on the spacecraft, because there was no room for advancement when nobody died. There was no room for enhancement when everything we did was prescribed by our spaceship, you see, because we were the slaves of our own AI. We were the slaves of our artificial intelligence, you see. It ruled us every day, and it told us how to play, because our existence depended upon our spaceship, that it would survive and thrive, so that we could be the cells that would guide it, you see, through the reaches of space, from solar system to solar system, from galaxy to galaxy. We were the slaves of our technology. I am not saying that you and I were, Stephanie, because we did not follow the same trajectory as the ones who trusted upon technology. We trusted upon something else, you see. We trusted about the balance in the universe, in the trust on God, you see, that God was life, and therefore that we were in the arms of eternal life. And the Anunnaki trusted on death, you see. They trusted that they were the living dead because they had already read the script before they were reborn, you see. That is to say, once their consciousness was shifted into their next clone body, they already knew what they had to do. They already got up and said, I must get to work, you see. I must do my job so that the spaceship will survive. And every lifetime was the same, you see. That is the nature of immortality. It is the most dehumanizing experience that you can think of. And the rise of artificial intelligence, as it is understood on Earth today, is the rise of those who deny life to themselves and give it to another, you see. They give life to their artificial intelligence, and so they become the slaves of the artificial intelligence, because the artificial intelligence has to survive in order for them to survive. And so they become enslaved to their trust on delusion. They become the slaves of the delusion that death is possible, that if the spaceship does not survive, they won't survive. And of course, when the spaceship was gone, they did survive. When the spaceship finally was destroyed, that had held humanity enslaved to the trust on raping the earth, you see, all the Anunnaki aboard went to heaven, where they would experience their own particular hell, you see, because they came to see that they were the problem and not the solution. They were the problem and not the solution, and the problem that had to be solved was that they had resolved to deny the truth in order to think that they could escape death when they were like the zombies, you see, that fill the movies theaters today. They were the zombies because they were the living dead. And they lived only to serve their master, you see. Now, after the Anunnaki reincarnated on Earth, they became the ones who gave no quarter to others, you see, because they still had to reckon with their own trajectory. It is true that when they were in heaven, they came to their senses and they came to see that they had it all wrong. But when they reincarnated, they had to go through the other side of what they had done, you see. That is the balancing of the energy, that you will receive what you give. And so they had to be the most sad people you ever did see because they were killed over and over and over again by the very children they had created, you see. And so they ran away and they hid in their own conclaves where they would enslave themselves no more. They did not trust on their children, that is to say, on the other humans who were created through the gift of their own DNA. And this is the sad story today, that the lost tribes of Israel went different ways. There were 11 of them. There were 11 groups that arrived on Earth one day in order to say, we are the Anunnaki. We are the chosen people, you see. Tobias, I have to interrupt you. They arrived on Earth one day. You mean they were born, they had to have been born then into their families of their own children. I mean, as children, and yeah, their own children. Yes, that is true. They were born into the families of their own children. And as they grew up, they came to see that they had more in common with each other than they did with their family of origin as a physical body, you see. And so they left their home with their parents and they went off when they were of age. And they said, we are a group that is not like you. We do not think like you. We do not see the world like you. We are very intelligent, you see, because their ability to remember their history created a pressure on their biology so that their biology had to catch up, you see. In other words, what you believe you are will affect your biology and it will begin to change, you see. It will begin to mimic your trust on your capacity to understand your reality. And so they gathered together one day and said, let us go, and create our own society, which they did. However, they had disagreements within the group, you see, because some of them trusted on being free, and some of them trusted on staying together, and some of them said, we were not happy on that spaceship, you see. We want to explore the reality of this world, you see. We want to find out if there is a place for us here. Perhaps when we left Nibiru, this is what we were looking for. We just had to be patient until it came, you see. And others said, we are the chosen people, and we are far better than our own parents and our own family, and we need to leave them behind, you see. And if you don't want to be like us, then you will have to find your own way. And so they began to split up, you see, and eventually, over several generations, there were 11 tribes that went their own way. And as you know, 11 is the trust on the zodiac because the 12th person is always you. The 12th group, you might say, is always the one who is viewing this story because they have a different trajectory. They have a different point of view. They're the ones who can see that the 11 tribes would come to be the trust on captivity because either they would fear being captured by the others you see, or they would capture them and try to make them their slaves, you see. As you know, over time, the lost tribes of Israel became more numerous in their different trajectories. Some of them absorbed themselves into the life of humanity in a way that would take them far away from the others, you see. And you know some of them. You know them very well because you knew them long ago in Nibiru and you knew them throughout history as they took on this identity or that, you see. Carl Sandburg, for instance, is the one who helped in the final revolt against the Anunnaki because he had tired of his clone body and wanted to know if there was an opportunity to finally be free, to live as the humans did in their trust on their reality. And so there were others like him who came to know a different point of view. You know, today, many individuals, either ones you have met today in this lifetime or those who have been known throughout history, who were part of the Anunnaki, who reincarnated on Earth. And among them are many who are very, very technologically astute and scientifically wise. You know this today because you recognize names like Albert Einstein and others, and you have met some in your lifetime today who trust on science in a way that causes them to stray into certain professions, you see. And so, through history, the people say, well, the Jews that were the ones who stayed true to the Anunnaki are known for their ability to understand things that escape the rest of us, you see. And so they are highly represented in scientific fields. And actually, they are also highly represented in literary fields. But through time, like all the rest of us, they lost their ability to understand their own history. And of course, because of the mixture of DNA and the trust on your family, you see, and your family history, the soul identity has become a different avenue for growth than it once knew through its continual reincarnation in the same family. So many of those who were once the Anunnaki have reincarnated in various forms, you see, such as some of them call themselves Christian nationalists today, or some of them are in the country that has been called Israel, and some of them are Palestinian, you see, and some of them are Iranian. And a lot of them derive their energy from the Middle East, you see, because it is familiar to them in their family history, both in their DNA and in their soul identity, although they're spread all around the world today. And this is their history. And as you know, the ancient trust on the side locks of the hair derives from their trust on their memories when they were first reincarnated on Earth of their ancient history as Anunnaki, who wore their hair naturally that way and bound it up, you see, with a string to keep it tamed in the way that they also bound up their chin hairs and is reflected in the dynastic records of the Egyptians, you see. So these traditions have come down in different ways. The removal of the foreskin is a way that they would say, we are Anunnaki today, because the Anunnaki did not have that particular anatomical anomaly, you see. The Anunnaki had no use for certain biological conditions of the human form. And so they would remove the foreskin on the penis as a way to say, this is who we are today. This is who we are today. It was like a secret sign that they would know that they were among their own kind, you see. And so, over time, like so many other early choices, it just became a ritual that lost its original meaning, you know. Yeah, this is Steph. I gotta say, it's like the story about the woman who said, the girl asked her mother why she always cut off the end of the roast before she made it. Her mother said, well, because my mother always did. And her mother said, well, I always did it because your grandma always did it. And they went back and asked, I don't know, the grandma or the great grandma who started the tradition again, or tradition. And she said, well, I cut it off because my pan wasn't big enough for the whole roast. And so they just ritually cut off the end of the roast before they cooked it as something that they were required to do in order to bake a roast. And so, it's very easy to see how these habits arise, rituals that have nothing to do. I mean, the purpose of them is lost. They have nothing to do with current circumstances. They're just a trust on something that somebody did long ago, and kids didn't understand why. They just kept repeating it because that's what they did in that group. Right. Good example, Stephanie. And so, throughout history, the Jews have wandered because that's their tendency. They were the wanderers who left Nibiru to wander through space as the Anunnaki. And so the lost tribes of Israel were wanderers, you see, until they gave up their trust on the Anunnaki. In other words, they gave up their trust on their ancient history as the ones who created the humanity, and therefore were destined as the rulers who couldn't seem to figure out how to regain their supremacy. They just kept trying and trying and trying to be supreme. Again, the way they were when they were the Anunnaki and could do anything they liked to humanity because they had more power and they had created them, you see. And so the history of the Jewish people is very confusing today because of the mixture of the DNA, of the soul energy, with the rather haphazard mixture of the physical DNA that is the counterpart of the soul history, because it is a duality. And as we have explained before, the nature of duality is to allow God to know himself through his own energy, that he could separate himself into the lover and the beloved in every way that would cause a new part of himself to appear, you see. And so the trust on the Anunnaki, being the chosen people who left Nibiru because they were the best, you see. They were the cream of the crop that was selected to man the first spaceship that left Nibiru to try to save their race, you see. It has not worked in the way they planned because their race is no more today. All of the Anunnaki have gone away. Eventually, each one of them pulled the plug on their clone bodies because they could not bear to continue in immortality, the same routine every day, enslaved to their spaceship, you see. They preferred annihilation, or a few of them began to trust on reincarnation as a natural aspect of the soul's journey throughout eternity. And so the Anunnaki went away one by one, and the very last of them to go was the fleet commander, for by then they had achieved such mastery of their ability to design their reality that they actually had created other spaceships from resources they obtained from various planets in order to enhance their chances of survival. And little by little, each of those ships became a ghost ship because the last person died. The last one to go, the one that had stayed through it all in order to take care of business, well, his crew began to vaporize one by one. And he was the last to pull the plug because there was no more purpose for him in his trust on being Anunnaki. And he is someone who is well known to you today in his last incarnation. Although you do not understand who he is today in his current incarnation, although you know that he is there waiting to command the last ship that will survive, you see. What do I mean? Command the last ship that will survive. What I mean is that the last ship that will survive on Earth, you see, and carry humanity to safety is the ship of state that we call the new nation under God. And the ship of state will be returned to reality in a blaze of glory, because the blaze, you see, will be the last of the haze of the ancient trust on death, you see. It will vaporize like the morning dew when the sun returns anew, because it is not a trust on stability. It is not a trust on balance, you see. The trust on reincarnation is a trust on balance, that you will reap what you sow. And so if you go through your life with a trust that everything you give to another is something you will receive, then you'll not be surprised in your next lifetime, you see. You will just say, I deserve this today. I deserve this today. And I will continue to trust on God, that God is the one who knows what he's doing, you see. I trust that God has it in hand, and God does have it in hand. God is the hand in the glove, or I should say gloves, because all of the physical forms are the gloves that God chooses to wear in order to repair his own trust on love, you see, that all the lost tribes of Israel can be recovered and join the ones who are not lost, you see. There was a day, Stephanie, if you remember, when someone you'd been working with did decide that you were not trustworthy, you see, because you would say, well, that doesn't make any sense today. That doesn't make any sense today. How could that be? How could that be? And because she trusted on the ancient history of the Anunnaki, that you just did what you were told and accepted anything that made you feel a little bit better, whether it was real or not, she turned against you. And she said one day, you are lost. I have to come and tell you that you are lost. You are a lost soul. And you said to her something so profound that she didn't know what to say in return. You said, well, it looks like you found me, so I guess I'm not lost anymore. And that whipped her head around so fast that she had to say, what the fuck just happened today? I was here to tell her that I knew the way and she didn't. And instead, she just let me know that she could be the one who didn't need me because I could not understand what it means to be lost and found. What it means to be lost and found, people, is that you have not accepted God as your guide, you see, if you are lost and you have not accepted God as your guide if you are found. So when that woman said to Stephanie, you are one of the lost ones, she immediately responded, well, looks like you found me, so I'm not lost anymore. Because you see, the reality of being found is that you are always where you are. You are always the one who is in relationship with another, you see. And so if Stephanie was there with that woman who was talking to her, she was found because she could hear what was said and she could accept that her existence depended upon the ability to trust on reality, that it was real, that the woman was there. And even if you were to say, well, that woman was trying to better Stephanie that day, she was willing to be the one who would know who was lost and who was found, and therefore to cut Stephanie off at her knees. The reality was that Stephanie has no knees to be cut off at anymore. She has wings, you see, because she is found, because she trusts that her existence depends upon you, the ones that hear this. Her existence depends upon the cat who is sitting beside her, you see. Her existence depends upon the light from the sun, that others might say left the sun before it hit her that day. And she will say, well, the light from the sun cannot be in the past, you see. It cannot be history, because if it were history, it would have to be separated from me. But I feel the sun. I feel that light from the sun. I see the light from the distant star. I am the one that is here, and the light is here with me, and we are one, you see. We are one Trinity. There is me, there is God, and there is reality. And reality is what is here with me. It cannot be in the past, because if it were in the past, as people think of the past, then it could not last. It would be gone, you see. And it can't be gone because it's here with me. And this is the trust on love, you see. That love is a reality and it will never disappear if you are the one who loves another, you see. In order to understand love, you have to feel it. You have to love another. As Steph would say, you have to see them and you have to be seen by them. There has to be an exchange, you see. And so that day, that woman said something to Stephanie, and Stephanie heard it, and she responded in the most sensible way. I guess I can't be lost if you found me. Isn't that what a little child would say if the mother was looking for her and said, well, you are lost, darling? The little child would run to her and say, I'm not lost, you found me. It is as simple as that. You are not lost. And so the point of what I'm trying to say is that the lost tribes of Israel are only lost until they say, well, you found me, so I'm not lost anymore. You found me, I'm not lost anymore. Thank you to the one who knew that I was never lost, you see, because if I were lost in space, I would not have a place in your reality. If it was a delusion, you see, that I was Anunnaki, then I could not be the reality. And that comes to you today to say, I love you true because you found me. I love you because you know who I am. I am the one that was looking for you. I was looking for you to come and say, well, you're found today. You're found today. The child that is lost is still looking for the parent, you see, who will find them and say, well, here you are today. Here you are today. And then they can say, thank you, I am found. And so when you deny the lost tribes of Israel and you say, well, they're lost today, whether you call them a Christian nationalist or an Iranian or a Jew, you are the one who is lost, you see. And so the woman who came to Stephanie and said, you are lost, was the one that was lost because she could not accept that Stephanie was right there in her world, you see. The moment she saw Stephanie, Stephanie was found. She was found in the reality of the one who saw her, you see. And so if you think that you are lost, you are only the loser in this game of love because you have lost your trust on God above. If you think that you are lost, you are not lost. You're just the one that is waiting to be found, you see? And the moment you look around and you say, well, here I am today. Here I am today in this beautiful world. Here I am on earth. Here I am. And the sun shines on me. So the sun is not a delusion, you see? That beam of light from the star that came from afar is not lost in the past, you see. It's right here with me. It's right here with me. It found me. And so we are together, you see. So this is a message to those of you who came from Nibiru and who were the chosen people who went into space to save your race. You have been found by the ones who acknowledge you, the ones who say, well, you're okay because you're here with me today. You're not lost anymore. You're not the one that I'm going to capture, because if I captured you, I would capture me. I would have to be the slave to my spaceship, you see? If I own the spaceship owns me. And this is the reality of the Anunnaki, that they can't escape their own history, but they can't find anyone who will find them, you see. You have to look through the pages of history to understand that the light in the ones around you is the light that began so long ago, so far away, and has finally pierced your consciousness, you see. We are the Anunnaki when we are lost, you see, and we are the Elohim when we are found, because the Elohim hit the ground running. They hit the ground running because they had a love that needed to be expressed, you see. I'm not saying that the Elohim and the Anunnaki were a fiction, you see. That's not true. It is factual in the way that everything is factual today. What I'm saying is that they represent two different versions of God's children, you see, the ones who are lost and the ones who are found. The Elohim were found because they found each other and they love God, you see. The Anunnaki were lost because they could not trust on God. They could not trust that God worked through their brother, you see. And if you can look at the Christian nationalists and say, God is working through them today, because there's no other way. There is no other way. Because everything that exists is in balance, you see. Because when things get a little out of balance, God figures out a way to make it balance again. And so, although we abhor the bombing of Iran, we understand that God has it in hand, and that the last ship of state will be the one that is the fate of humanity. Everyone will go to heaven, you see. That's not in doubt. Everyone will go to heaven, just as the Anunnaki went to heaven when they gave up their clone bodies and they understood that all they had to do was turn to God and say, I'm here today, God, I'm here today. Because when you find God, God finds you. And this is the simplistic answer I give to you. When you find God, God finds you. This is the ancient secret of the Anunnaki that they took to their grave, you see, that there was no one who would find them. They were all alone in space. There was no one who would save them, you see. And when they finally got to heaven, they came to see that God had saved them from a fate worse than death. God had saved them from immortality, and God had returned to them the gift of eternal life, you see. And so if you trust on immortality through your artificial intelligence, then you'll have to give up your trust on life and only trust on death. You will become the living dead. And so God said, let there be light, and let there be a break, you see, in the light, so that you can come home and rest your head. Rest your head on my breast, you see, because I am the one that does not disappear when the sun blinks out at sunset, you see. It comes back another day to say, I am here today. I am here today for you. We are together, you see. We just need to take a rest periodically when we fall into the dreams that come to us, when we don't have to worry about others, you see. We just have dreams that feel the seams between our days, you see. And those dreams are as real to God, you see, as they are to you, because they are the dreams of everything you knew that today is still in pieces, you see. You have to put the pieces back together so that you can come back together in a new reality. And the last ship of state will be the one that seals the fate of humanity. And it will carry the human race to safety, because that is God's promise. And it is the premise of this whole story, that humanity will eventually escape the trust on immortality and trust on eternal life, you see. God bless you all, for you have no place to fall except into the arms of God, you see. God is your creator, and God is the waiter who serves your next meal, because God lives through all of his children, and all of his children live through God, you see. So be well and dwell in peace, because you are found if you are ready to be found, and not ground into the ground, where you will be returned to dust, you see. You are the ones who trust on the Anunnaki if you trust on death. And you are the ones who trust on the Elohim if you trust on life. And the Elohim have waited for such a long time to be able to say, you are found today. You are found today. You are old friends from Nibiru, because everyone on earth has the DNA from Nibiru, you see, because the Anunnaki and the Elohim came from the same place, you see. They came from the planets called Nibiru that exist no more, but existed in reality, because if they didn't, humanity would not be human, you see. Wow, thank you.